two Ukrainian soldiers engage a group of Russian soldiers with gunfire. In response, one of the Russian soldiers launches an explosive device toward the Ukrainian position. However, seconds later, Ukrainian artillery fire strikes the opposing shelter. A significant number of opposing forces were identified in the area. Ukrainian reconnaissance units conducted a coordinated operation with artillery units targeting a group of Russian soldiers advancing in an armored vehicle. After moving through the forest in an armored vehicle, the opposing soldiers dispersed across the terrain. The opposing soldiers immediately took up positions. Their objective was to eliminate the presence of Ukrainian forces in the area. However, the artillery units began delivering precise strikes on the positions of the opposing forces. As the enemy soldiers moved in disarray, an unmanned aerial vehicle also provided support to the artillery units. The drones began to swiftly target the opposing forces by releasing precision-guided munitions. Shortly thereafter, many of the enemy personnel were taken out of action. The Russian soldiers, whose positions were struck, were forced to retreat. Reconnaissance drones from the K2 unit of the Ukrainian army identified a team operating an unmanned aerial vehicle belonging to the Russian forces. The opposing forces have established their command center in a wooded area. Soldiers from the opposing side are also observed operating an unmanned aerial vehicle. The K2 unit immediately launched a response using its own FPV tactical drones. One of the drones was directed toward the Russian command center. In the initial stage, the drone operator struck the entrance of the command center with a precision-guided impact. The unit promptly deployed a second FPV drone. The drone operator executed a highly precise approach, successfully navigating into the underground command center where opposing forces were stationed. Shortly thereafter, a powerful detonation occurred underground. The shelter sustained critical damage, and the personnel inside were incapacitated. Ukraine's use of FPV drones extends beyond nighttime operations. You are observing 4 Russian soldiers taking cover in abandoned buildings, attempting to evade detection by FPV drones. 4 Russian soldiers attempt to retreat one after another. Realizing the drone remains in pursuit, they try to take cover inside a building. However, the FPV drone successfully completes its objective. The 4 Russian soldiers are taken out of action by the FPV drone. Two Russian soldiers are spotted by Ukrainian observation drones in an abandoned village. Shortly thereafter, it becomes clear that the soldiers are using a building as a shelter. Ukrainian forces closely monitor their movements. A thorough scan is conducted to determine if additional personnel are present besides the 2 identified soldiers. When no further activity is detected, the first strike is executed using an FPV tactical drone. The FPV drone initiates its first strike on the structure where the soldiers had taken cover. Immediately afterward, a coordinated follow-up attack is launched. During the second strike, a significant explosion occurs at the enemy shelter. A third FPV tactical drone is then deployed to target the heavily damaged building. The drone operator guides it through the doorway, and a powerful explosion follows. After the final strike, no further signs of opposing forces are observed in the area. These coordinated attacks by Ukrainian forces left no opportunity for resistance and fully neutralized the target. Russian forces initiated another advance near Klitschka in the Donetsk region. Ukrainian reconnaissance drones identified the movement early. The opposing forces were progressing in a convoy of armored vehicles. In response, the Ukrainian command center ordered the deployment of dense minefields along the anticipated route. Troops set up concealed explosive devices along likely paths. Reconnaissance drones closely monitored the convoy's progress. The Russian army's armored vehicles were advancing toward the designated ambush zone and entered the area where the initial anti-armor mines had been strategically placed. The concealed mines detonated with significant force. When the enemy tank encountered 2 of these devices simultaneously, a powerful explosion occurred. The force of the explosion severely damaged the armored vehicle. The remaining armored vehicles attempted to withdraw from the mined area in disarray, but the detonations continued. The area had become a highly dangerous zone. The armored vehicles believed they had made it out safely. However, numerous mines still remained throughout the vicinity. Ukrainian forces had established a large-scale ambush. Enemy tanks were being destroyed one after another. Tank debris was scattered through the air. Following the ambush with mines, Ukrainian forces had rendered 4 out of 5 Russian tanks completely inoperable. The Ukrainian mines included both traditional tank mines and remotely controlled smart systems. This enabled the rapid neutralization of the enemy tanks in a very short time. Ukrainian forces executed a highly effective operation. This time, the units employed a ground-based tactical drone. Russian soldiers were using the basement of a building in the Pokrovsky direction. A ground-based unmanned vehicle, equipped with high-impact munitions, was deployed to the identified location. The vehicle approached the enemy shelter with precision and successfully entered the structure. A short time later, a powerful explosion occurred. The tactical vehicle had fully dismantled the enemy shelter. The blast was highly impactful. Footage captured by observation drones clearly documented the extensive destruction of the targeted position. During clearance operations in the city of Donetsk, Ukrainian soldiers discovered a group of opposing forces concealed in the basement of a building. Ukrainian troops placed a powerful timed explosive at the location. The device detonated shortly afterward, causing the building to collapse entirely. Following the operation, the structure was reduced to rubble. The enemy group inside was neutralized by the blast and the collapse. The site where the opposing soldiers had taken shelter became their final position. What you are about to see has become a striking symbol of the setbacks faced by opposing forces. All the vehicles shown belong to the Russian military and have been rendered inoperative following their advance into Ukrainian territory. The Pokrovsk direction in the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine remains one of the most intense and heavily contested fronts of the conflict. Along this front line, a single road near the village of Novotroitsk has become a critical location where Russian forces have experienced significant equipment losses. As of July 2025, approximately 125 Russian military and armored vehicles have been neutralized along this route. These include tanks, armored personnel carriers, BMPs, BTRs, ammunition transport trucks, logistical support vehicles, and specialized vehicles with mine-clearing systems. These losses span several months. For instance, in February 2025, around 40 vehicles were confirmed affected in the same area. However, subsequent deployments along this road were consistently countered by Ukrainian forces using drones, artillery systems, anti-armor munitions, and ground units. Notably, FPV drones, precision-guided artillery, and night vision-enabled firepower have turned this road into a highly hazardous crossing point for Russian forces. Minefields and concealed Ukrainian reconnaissance teams closely monitor every movement, intervening with speed and precision. Many Ukrainian soldiers have played key roles in these operations, actively defending their territory through coordinated actions. The collaboration between volunteer groups and formal armed units has further accelerated the neutralization of incoming threats. Today, this route is widely regarded as a one-way path Russian vehicles may enter, but most are either left behind or severely damaged. The wreckage of destroyed tanks and transport vehicles scattered along the roadside serves as a stark reminder. Not only of the material toll but also of strategic miscalculations and the ongoing challenges faced by Russian forces in the region.